Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you. Featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, my guest, Jonathan Asbell, has been a guest on my show before as a real estate professional in Delray Beach, Florida, as well as Boca Raton, Florida. But he's been doing something special, which is why I asked him to be on the show again, and that is that he's working in the autism community for the past 5 years, and he says every time a family with a child on the spectrum moved, it was like starting over, and panic overcame parents who were scrambling to get their children into programs. Now, he wanted to come up with a solution, something a little bit more, shall we say, better response. And so Autism Speaks, CARD, and other groups do not respond quick enough, he says. So parents responded with a massive amount of ongoing, desperate Facebook posts and requests. And that's why he felt it was so important for him to be involved. I want to welcome you to my show again, Jonathan Asbell, and I want to talk about autism, which is such a very scary and also a phenomenon which seems to be growing. So welcome to the Susan Brender Show, Jonathan.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you very much.
You know, you said that you took your experiences and resources to create a solution which acts like the equivalent of Yelp or autism. Tell our audience a little bit about what you found out and what you've been able to do.
Well, you know, I had found out after working with a lot of families who have a child on the spectrum that they would move, or even if they didn't move, they were looking for different services and they just couldn't find them. And they were really frustrated. And a lot of these parents are not sleeping well, and they have to watch the child all the time. Of course, they love their children, and they're doing everything they can to help them improve the quality of their life, as well as their own lives, as their parents' lives. And they were just in a desperate look for the different resources that they needed for their child. And you could see the posts on Facebook and the people saying, I just don't know what to do, and I'm giving up, and, you know, I'm so afraid that we won't be able to afford this, and all kinds of very difficult situations that, you know, that as parents we worry about with our kids, but that these kids really need certain attention to bring them up to a higher quality of life. And so we were seeing that. I was seeing it.
Yeah. Now, you know, a lot of people say my child may have autism, but I'm not sure. So what are the things that you have to look for in a child if you think there is a problem?
Well, and I'll only tell you what I've read because I don't have a child on the spectrum, but I have friends who have children on the spectrum. And a lot of the things that they notice typically are lack of eye contact. There's a certain lack of eye contact and an inability or a lack of desire to communicate verbally in a lot of cases. In other cases, that's not the case. It could be just an emotional, they get extremely emotional or angry or anything like that. There's a lot of that's why it's a spectrum. There's so many differences in the way these people react and respond that there's no really one way to know this. But generally speaking, like a lack of eye contact is the beginning of something that you might want to investigate further. And to tell you the truth, some people are autistic and it's fine and they live with it, and it's almost like a unique characteristic that almost in some ways enhances them. So, you know, it's hard to say negative, positive. It just depends on the situation.
Do you happen to know whether there's a diagnosis or a test for autism?
I mean, I know that people are trying to do that, and there's a lot of false positives. A lot of parents are getting false positives, and they're calling it ADHD and all this kind of stuff. And it's really, you know, you have to watch the child develop and see what happens, how they respond. I mean, it could just be their way. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw, Prince. I mean, Prince has his own way of dealing with things,
Right.
and we don't want to characterize things in this way. Some of these kids are geniuses, and maybe
Yeah.
emotionally unstable, and some of them are emotionally fine, but they're just not communicative. There's all kinds. So I don't know about a
Yeah.
test really.
Yeah. And what about finding out what caused your child's autism? Is that available at all?
Yeah,
Or
they haven't figured out. There was a lot of talk about vaccines, which it seems like they've negated, and they're not totally sure about it. There's a lot of studying in Nova University, which is, a big university here in South Florida. There's a whole center for autism, and Boston has also a center for autism, and there's a bunch of places that have these centers for autism, which is why I'm moving people around, because they want these services, and you want to be close to one of these centers.
oh, so that is the connection between your well, let's just put it this way. That's your connection between doing your real estate business and autism, is to give these people who have children with autism a chance to live in a place where they can be helped. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right, and that's what's happening. Is I had someone come from Rhode Island. They were transferred down to Florida. Okay, so what do they do? Well, that depends on what their child needs. Well, what does their child need? Because it's not like it's all the same. It's not the same. So they have to find specific services for their age, for their needs and things like that. And the way to do it, hopefully, is using this app, this web app, so to speak, that I've created, which will help them be in Rhode Island and say, if I move to Miami, what's available? How can I call? What's the rating for those services? Or, or I live in West Palm, but I work in Boca. What are the services in West Palm? What are the services in Boca? So basically,
Right.
from a location standpoint, what are the services available? How are they rated by other parents? And what's the contact information so I can get a hold of them and see if that's good for my child? That's what we're giving them, and then we're moving them.
And let's talk about the app for a minute, because I didn't mention it at the beginning of our discussion. And I think it's very important that people know what the app is about and how they access it. And is there a name associated with it? What is the app?
Right. Well, I call it the Autism Directory, and it's really just a Yelp for the autism community. It's parents helping parents. It's information supplied by parents, consumed and furnished by parents of children who are in the autism community. And it's, designed specifically so that the parent of the 14-year-old can help the 13-year-old parent, and that the 18-year-old parent can help the 14-year-old parent, and the 12-year-old parent can help the 6-year-old parent, because if there's enough participation, then they can share their experiences, whether this therapist was good or this program was good or this school was good. And that's what they want to know. That's what they're looking for. And that's what this web app, this website used on the cell phone is designed for, to help them get those answers and get the contacts of those resources quicker without having to wait and trying to call people and get recommendations. And parents are desperate. They want answers now. And so this web app, so to speak, the Autism Directory, is supposed to be able to give them the answers now.
Yeah. Now, this is fascinating. There must be a reason, though, that you came up with this app, because now when you tell me about what it does for people, the parents of kids with autism, I think it's just a remarkable site and a great idea. Now, was that done because you find that the autism statistics just keep climbing? And, have you been experiencing that from the way people, when they get in touch with you, they kind of indicate that their child has it and other children have it? And that is fascinating to me that you thought about this, Jonathan. What made you? I mean, let's go back a minute. What made you think about something like this?
Yeah, I had a customer, and I speak Portuguese. I lived in Brazil, and he didn't speak English, neither did his family, and he was moving his family here for a better quality of life, and he wanted better services for his son who was on the spectrum. And I did everything I could to help him out. I tried to get him interviewed by schools and therapists and things, and we got in touch with the mayor of Parkland and all this stuff, and I collected all these resources, and I said, you know what? He's not the only family, and all these resources are going to come in handy for somebody else. Let me save them for the next parent. Sure enough, we get another parent that came from Rhode Island going to Miami, and another one coming from Oklahoma going to Miami, and all these people are in the same situation, looking desperately for, where am I going to go for my child? What is he going to get into? What are the services? And they are really desperate. And rather than me run around, I thought, well, wait a minute. I come from technology and marketing in New York City. I know how to put this stuff together. Let me put together a website that will serve the parents, that will be run by the parents, and that will give them the answers that they're looking for and the resources that they're looking for quickly, so that they can do what they want to do. And then I'll help them move, because the natural thing is you want to move where the services are. And I was encountering people who wanted to move. So it happened like that. And I think the more important thing to understand is that, real estate has a really big part in this, because if you have to hire people to do this, it's a lot of money. You're only going to they're going to put one or two people on working on this. It'll never be updated. It'll be it'll be a big mess. Whereas real estate people, naturally, we are always in contact with people. We're always helping people move. It's a natural fit, and it's free, because we move people from here to there, help them out, and we will give them this service as a service for the society, for the community. And it's free. So, it's great.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? Now, here's the thing. Since you've done this, I'm sure other real estate agents have gotten in touch with you and said, okay, I have people coming into this area, and it turns out that they have kids with autism. How can you help them? Do you do a certain kind of a connection with these other real estate agents, and do you get a commission for it? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah, there's no money involved in this service, but what I did do was I work with Keller Williams. We do a lot of community work, and one of the first things I did was to reach out to offices across the United States to find out which agents and which offices worked with people on the spectrum or had family members or friends on the spectrum, and I got responses. And then I incorporated them into serving their community. So the idea would be that, here in Florida, we have our community, then this other person in Washington State has their community, and this other person in Chicago has their community, and basically each of the offices and the people in the offices that I contacted are in charge of rallying behind their community, getting their community to furnish their experiences, share experiences, and enrich the usage of the application. And it started, I'll tell you that one of the challenges is that parents don't really want to talk about it. Parents are quite overwhelmed, and they won't even tell you half the time. You have to kind of guess that there's an issue, and you ask, do you have a child on the spectrum? And they'll say yes. And that's okay. I mean, it's fine. I mean, they're children. I'm a dad. They're children. We all have children. Let's help our children out. And that's what we're doing here. On top of that, the only time money comes into any play at all is where if the people in the autism community who we're helping end up buying or selling a property or any kind of transaction with real estate, and they've either referred that or they themselves are participating in the transaction, we will give $1,000 back into the community wherever they want it to be, any kind of nonprofit for autism, for every transaction that happens. So we want to help the community by doing business with the community. So that's the only time where any kind of money is exchanged, and it happens on the closing of a transaction, and it's given back to the community.
That's an amazing opportunity for parents. And also, what about doctors? Do they kind of do something with you together? Because if they know what you're doing and bringing people with autism who can use their services or use the hospital services or whatever, shouldn't they be able to tell people about Jonathan Asbell?
I mean, yeah, they can, and we want them to not tell them about me, but about the service. The thing is with, service people, doctors, resources and things, today they're good, tomorrow they're bad. Some of the parents will rate people really harshly or really overwhelmingly great. And and I'm not sure, if the best approach is to let those people who are being rated have too much of a voice. It's really for the parents, by the parents. That's how it was designed. And, hopefully they'll be, understanding, the parents will be understanding and forgiving of some of the services if they haven't had a good experience. At the same time, I've seen already with some schools, parents really, being very upset with certain programs and things. So really, I'm very wary of putting any kind of control in the hands of the resources. The resources can advertise. They can put their names out there. They can post events. We have an events section, and they can contribute to information. But really, this is about the parents, and it's for the parents.
Yes. Jonathan, this is an educational and an informational program. Is there a question that I'm passing up or something that you really need to tell the audience about?
Well, I would just say that, if you have a friend or a family member or your own family, you have someone on the spectrum in your family, we want you to help enrich the experiences of other families. We want the older to help the younger, and we want it to be a cascading effect. There are people that are offering work opportunities for kids who are over 21. Michelle Rubin runs Autism After 21. She's one of a couple people doing this type of work. And of course, if she shares her resources to the younger parents, well, then the younger parents benefit. If the younger parents share that with the younger parents than them, people younger than them, then those parents benefit. So the message really here is, parents, I know this is not easy for you, and I know you're uncomfortable with a lot of the interactions with people outside of the community, but we want to help you, and we want you to participate in this. We want you to contribute to the betterment of the community so that other parents don't have to suffer. And, if you could work with us and help us improve this, it would be great. So the last thing that I'll leave you with about that is that we got Rutgers University involved in it. Rutgers University is now putting students behind helping the autism directory be more effective, more user-friendly, more functional, and we're doing it for parents. So really the missing piece is parents, please participate, please contribute. It's going to benefit everyone. We will eliminate that stress, and your child would have the resources that they need, and we'll help you get there. It's part of our work. It's part of our work.
How great is that? How great is that? Well, my guest today has been Jonathan Asbell, who links the autism community with doctors, with real estate, with virtually everybody who needs to know that their help with kids with autism would be a phenomenal and a great experience. So I want to thank you so very much, Jonathan Asbell, for being on the Susan Brender Show. I think you gave our audience a lot of education. And if they want to get in touch with you again, how do they do that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my contact information, which is 561-247-5650 in South Florida. My email is jonathan@realplaces.io, not .com, not .net, but .io. And what I also like to say is, on a final note, is that, again, it's all about parent participation. It's all about getting the parents involved. And we are looking for volunteers, anyone who's retired or who has time, or a stay-at-home mom or dad or whatever have you, who have time to call parents and get them involved and get them to put their resources in. So we're looking for people. If you are among those people and you're in the audience here, please get in contact with me. We're looking for leadership here. We're looking for people in every region in the U.S. So right now we're trying to enforce it to become more strong. The West Palm, Miami, Broward, Fort Lauderdale region. We have other regions: Philadelphia, Boston, D.C., Charlotte, San Francisco, wherever. If you're a leader or you want to be a leader in this area of study, of helping people, we want to talk to you so that you can take a leadership position and help these parents. They would really be grateful.
Yes, and I encourage everybody to do exactly what Jonathan said, because there is nothing more fulfilling than helping people. So with that said, thank you again for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Thanks so much, Susan.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.